Well, sometimes one collects one, sometimes the other. I don't know. Call the meeting to order. Roll call of Alderman.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Here.
Holt.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Rudowitz.
Here.
Randall.
Here.
Anthony.
Here.
Davidson.
Here.
Silsby.
Here.
Hayden.
Here.
Cyber.
Here.
White.
Here.
Galletti.
Here.
Musgrove.
Here.
Orland.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Everyone's present from the aldermen. Roll call department heads.
Police Chief Clay. Fire Chief Langston.
Here.
City Attorney Garrett Porter.
Here.
Ken Vaughn. Royce Carlisle. Jamie Matrick.
Here.
Tim Gregowitz.
Here.
Jim Schneider.
Here.
Leander Spearman.
Here.
Emily Foltz.
Here.
Chuck Schaefer. And Bob Sabo.
Okay, Bob Sabo, Chuck Schaefer. Royce, he's on the 35th anniversary. Kenny Vaughn, he's still off. He's been ill, and then who was last one? She played with home today after that. So they're all excused, but most of them to illness. Stay away from them. Okay, I just want to say before we have the Pledge of Allegiance, if, ladies and gentlemen, if we did have to evacuate this room for any reason, first reason being that of a fire situation, we would calmly and quietly leave the building and cross the street carefully and go right to in front of the courthouse where the big St. Clair County sign is, and that's where we would meet and try to do our best to make sure we recognize that everybody was out that we saw sitting with us, etc. These meetings are a little hard to get exact attendance, but we would do that, and we'd ask the scouts to make sure their groups together, etc. If we had severe weather, in case of that ever when you're at a meeting in this room, we would go outside the doors, follow the signs, right across, right next to the elevator is the stairs going downstairs, and it's for years has been stated to be a fallout shelter, so it's a good place to go in case of severe weather to get away from glass blowing. So just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. At this time, we'd like to ask Boy Scout Troop 11 from St. Peter's Cathedral to step up here forward and if they'd help us by leading the Pledge of Allegiance. They're here tonight working on their citizenship and the community merit badges. We have scouts here periodically, and it's great to see the scouts come and observe, and also continue to work on their badges. I know St. Peter's has produced many Eagle Scouts, and it's a great thing to go with them the rest of their lives. So we wish them all well in their scouting endeavors. If you would please stand, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll wait for the boys to give the direction.
Scouts salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, I thank you. And if you ever have any questions, we need other help with other badges, you give us a holler, because we certainly applaud the scouting. I know one of your leaders there was back when I was Scoutmaster, so you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, a few years.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is public participation. So I'll open public participation and ask if anyone this evening has any comments. Please try to give your name, step up, wait till you're recognized, step up to the microphone, give your name and address, and try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes. Is there anyone this evening? Yes, sir.
Rick Brown, 125 Lucille Lane, Shiloh. Got 3 things to talk about. First of all is a letter that I believe is an election violation by the city in the last township board election, where an employee of the city used city computers on city time to get people from the people that work for the city to go down to the West High School to vote for Joe Hubbard. I believe that's an election violation. We'll see. I'm going to make sure the proper authorities get it. Second thing, the current free housing ordinance, which is passed, it's now law, or it's going to be law November the 1st. There's a lot of things wrong with it. Number one, it denies due process to people who have been allegedly have committed a crime, who've been merely given a ticket. That violates due process clause in the United States and the Illinois State Constitution. Second, the city of Belleville has created a separate class of people in the city, renters, where if in a situation like Bruce Cook's little boy, Michael, who got arrested for heroin possession and a gun violation, and he's living with his daddy over in the orchards, he doesn't get evicted. But if someone who has a little bit of pot or gets accused of reckless driving, and they're renters, the city will force us to start eviction proceeding on them without due process. Denies equal protection under the law. One of the other problems with it, having the separate class of people, renters, 73.3% of the renters are minorities in this city. This ordinance targets minorities. It is against the 1992 Civil Rights Act to target in a disparate way minorities. And that's exactly what this law does. In 1980, the black population in Belleville was 1.8%. In 1990,
Mr. Brown, if you could wrap it up here 3 minutes.
I have another 3 minutes to go. 7.89% was black. In 2000, 15.5% of the population was black, and now it's 25.4% of the population. And just to give you a little idea how this law works, I have in my pocket here a ticket that was issued to one of my tenants who used to be married and had a child at home. It was issued just the other day by Officer Fulkerson. He got a divorce, legal divorce, and she has the right to see her daughter. And she was at the home, and she got a ticket for merely visiting her daughter. Now, she has the right to do that. Officer Fulkerson said, well, put her back on the occupancy permit. I'm not going to do it. In the divorce decree, it says that she has a right to visit her daughter. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let you guys give tickets to people. Mayor, you got 24 hours to tell Sabo and Fulkerson to get rid of this ticket and the other ticket that was issued, or I'm going to file charges against you, Sabo, and Fulkerson for false arrest.
Your time is up. Would you please sit down?
I'm close to you.
Your time is up, Mayor.
Have a nice day.
Ladies, your time is up. Next. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Victoria Beaver. I live at 639 Royal Heights Road, Millville. I was here at the zoning meeting on the 22nd, and I had applied for a variance permit for an animal rescue, and I believe that was denied, so we were sent before you guys today to talk about it. Basically, in my application for the variance permit, it does say keeping an animal on an emergency temporary basis, a rescue animal. But I think people were getting the idea that I wanted to erect outside runs and cages and have foot traffic, car traffic. None of that is to take place, that there would be no change to the neighborhood at all. Nobody would even know. I did bring pictures of some of the animals that we have helped. Basically, we're foster based. Any animal that we would rescue from death row would be placed in a foster home. Problems that we have run into, which is the reason I'm asking, is we do have foster homes that find out a couple weeks in that, well, this is not for me, or they didn't expect this dog to not, be perfect. And we would get calls in the middle of the night to come get this dog, and you have to apply by that. You have to go get the dog, and there's nowhere to put it, but you're at 3 o'clock in the morning, which did happen. And I was just asking for the ability to run my rescue, which is incorporated by the state of Illinois. It is licensed by the Department of Agriculture. And that's it, and I have pictures if anybody wants to look at them.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Yes, sir, back in the corner.
Stuart Leonard, 318 South 29th Street, Belleville. After all the money Belleville gave Ben, and it was going to be his way or the highway, as far as tearing down this antique storefront, maybe Belleville can have Ben donate to the city a 3-minute egg timer, and that'll put a stop to this. People, they'll know when the 3 minutes is up. You know, you can have the timer up there, and when it's 3 minutes is up, your time's up.
Good, you give me one here, okay?
And
Good.
14B here, sell surplus, this is for today's agenda, 14B, sell surplus property in Belleville. Well, what about Lindenwood's new parking lot between 2600 West Main, almost to 29th Street Railroad tracks? Did they pay for any of that? I mean, Lindenwood, we've done everything. We've done more than enough for Lindenwood financially. We give them $115,000 basically to take the school off our hands. They say it's to fix the tennis court, but actually we just paid them $115,000 to take the school off our hands. And they had a fire over here, a bonfire, And the fire department was there with all its lights on and everything, and it was there for a couple hours, I guess, and I wonder if they had to pay for that. And then the next day, they just bulldozed the residue of the fire. There was some old tires, some rusty old barrels. They just bulldozed it as the railroad's property. Lindenwood, I haven't gotten along too well with Lindenwood for quite some time, ever since I fell in that hole right next to the sidewalk. And they didn't even put any barricades around it or anything, and I called them 24 hours in advance, and they said, it's fixed, don't worry about it, mind your own business. Well, the hole wasn't fixed, it was still there the next day, and I fell in it. Not at all, they're still mad about that. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Scott Cronenberger, 9305 Circle Drive. I guess this is the time to argue my point on why they denied my variance for 134 North Douglas. I'd like to take this time, because I know it's not going to pass, but I'd like to take this time to give you aldermen a fresh perspective on where I'm coming from. If you had a chance to look at 9th Street, North 9th Street in Belleville, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that area. Between 11 and 25 North 9th, those houses were basically slums. I've spent thousands of dollars cleaning that property up. I bought that side of the block. And there's duplexes up there, and there's the red house up there. And I spent thousands of dollars in landscaping, fixing the houses up, and if you go by there today, it looks pretty darn good. I've got 70 other properties in Belleville that I'm doing the same thing to. I've been born and raised in Belleville my whole life. I'm thinking with this crime-free ordinance that we got going on now that, you know, things are going to get even better. So I'm basically wanting to say, hey, when you're dealing with landlords, kind of take a different perspective. If you see a landlord doing something good in the city of Belleville, reward them for it. Don't punish them for it. Okay, I've put a lot of time and money in Belleville. I've lived here my whole life. I care about it just as much as every one of you do. So denying me a little apartment, studio apartment behind this house for a college lady, a college girl to live in while she goes to college, is just ridiculous because some people in the neighborhood said they don't want it. I put it, you know, it's a nice place, and the only reason I'm getting denied for it is because the past of the way people feel, the way they feel in the past that Belleville was. That's the way I feel. And, you know, if you just look at, you know, take the time and think, you know, these landlords that are doing good, that are actually investing time and money, let's reward them. Let's not punish them. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
Rose Wilson, 322 West I Street. I just have something to say in regards to Mr. Brown's remark. If he's going to find reasons for an investigation for any employees to use the city computer, he should also find a reason for an investigation when one of our city officials is taking part in a public demonstration on city time. Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? Hearing none, I will close public participation. We'll now get into some recognitions and presentations. The first thing I'd like to do at the beginning of each month, just like the guys probably here from Troop 11, the city, as all the schools, we recognize each month the character word of the month. The character word of the month this month is responsibility. Responsibility is the willingness to be accountable for your own actions without blaming others. Responsibility. The next thing I'd like to take the privilege to do, and I don't know if you can all see it very well, but I'd encourage you after the meeting, over here to the left, right by the pictures of all the previous mayors, is a trophy with a beautiful eagle on it. It's called the Abilene Trophy. And the Abilene Trophy is here in our City Hall for the next 30 days. And it's here to allow citizens and people to take a look at it and to understand and learn that the City of Belleville, like all the other cities in the area, and the Leadership Council, worked very hard to apply for and go after and nominate Scott Air Force Base for this prestigious award. We have been a part of trying in the past, and it took a lot of effort, a lot of team effort. But the City of Belleville and the Bell Scott Committee and a number of different agencies worked very hard together. This is quite, you may have seen it in the paper actually about 2 months ago probably, at least maybe 3, where the 4-star General, General Selva, accepted it at a ceremony at Scott Air Force Base that I and many mayors were attending. And it's a great, great honor. It says a lot about the community. As you may or may not know, the City of Belleville has the longest, this particular item is we have the longest continuous military-civilian partnership in the nation, the Bell Scott Committee. 63 years this committee has been up and going. And it's just a great, great partnership that says an awful lot about our relationship of supporting the men and women. It's not just airmen anymore. Scott Air Force Base today is a joint total force base with representation from the Army, the Navy, the Marines. Just about every branch is there now because of TRANSCOM and the Air Mobility Command. And it's miraculous what those folks do for us in protecting our freedoms each and every day. So if you get a chance afterwards to take a look at the Abilene, we'll have it here. I'll have it up in my office, and we're showing it to people. But I wanted to bring it down here tonight and make sure everybody was aware. It's a great recognition for Scott Air Force Base and the area cities around here. The next thing, is anyone here from St. Elizabeth this evening? Oh, good, okay. Well, if you will come on down, I'll come up. I'll come down and you'll come this way. And we're going to take just a moment to read a proclamation and thank these ladies on behalf of St. Elizabeth. Garrett and I had a meeting the other day with Mary Ann Reese, and we talked about this. This is we did this last year, but it's very important, and it doesn't, just because you did it 1 year, it doesn't go away, the problems and challenges. So here's the proclamation. Recognizing October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October has been established as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month to focus attention on this most frequently diagnosed cancer in women and to increase education and awareness efforts. And whereas breast cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in women, exceeded only by lung cancer, and the chance of developing invasive breast cancer at the same time in a woman's life is about 1 out of 8. And whereas 232,340 new cases of female invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in 2013, and about 39,620 will die from this disease. And whereas death rates from breast cancer have been declining, and this change is believed to be the result of earlier detection and improved treatment. And whereas the women are encouraged to make a renewed commitment to following recommended screening guidelines and to make an annual mammogram appointment as is recognized as the single most effective method of detecting changes that might be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt. And whereas during the month of October, St. Elizabeth's Hospital will be dedicated to enhance the knowledge on breast health issues in our region through ongoing community education, events, Our Real Men Wear Pink, and yeah, Garrett and I did get the memo. We were at the meeting at St. Elizabeth's. I forgot to share it with everyone. I thought about it this afternoon. Campaign and health screening services. Now therefore, I, Mark W. Eckert, Mayor of the City of Belleville, Illinois, in partnership with St. Elizabeth's Hospital, do hereby proclaim October 2013 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I urge all residents, schools, businesses, and civic leaders to take time to educate ourselves about the risk of breast cancer and recognize the effects of local health care professionals dedicated to prevention, early detection, and the effective treatment, and consider what steps you and your family can take to minimize risk of developing breast cancer. I present this to you. I feel bad, but I will get you a frame. We went to the closet this afternoon and the frames are gone, so we have to order some. But I want to tell you that this is very important, and I think everyone in the City Council joins me in recognizing the fact that we can alert or bring awareness to any any families and females who could be experiencing, in many cases in this community, many have gone through some very traumatic situations. We are all for encouraging that awareness, and we applaud the hospital on your actions.
Well, thank you. We're happy to be a part of the community.
Anything else? One more picture. Okay. Just pretend there's a friend. Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, it's always good to share in the partnerships we do. It is sad and staggering when you look at some of those statistics. It's kind of mind-boggling. So we do hope everyone continues to spread the word to family members. Moving on now into the regular part of the meeting, I'd ask that we'd ask for a motion to approve, and if nobody objects, maybe we can do these together. Approving the regular city council meeting minutes held September 16th and the special city council meeting minutes held 25th of, yes. Motion? Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, I ask for all in favor of saying aye for approval. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to pay the claims, payroll, and disbursements. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear any discussion? Roll call.
Heisler. Aye. Kinsella. Aye. Holmes. Aye. Schmidt. Aye. Rudowitz. Aye. Randall. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Davidson. Aye. Sillsby. Aye. Hayden. Aye. Seibert. Aye. White. Aye. Galletti. Aye. Musgrove. Aye. Orley. Aye. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion carries. Just for the sake of the Boy Scouts, and for the sake, sometimes we get people in here who haven't been here in a while, or whatever. When we have aye roll call vote, it's because we're either spending money, approving a contract, or passing a resolution or ordinance. Those are, and it could call for any other vote I could choose, or they could be requested. But those are the main reasons that we call for an individual vote. Otherwise, we say go by all in favor. So, just a rule of clarification for your citizenship. Reports. We have the Zoning Board of Appeals advisory reports.
Number 1, September 13th, Oaks Associates Incorporated requesting a sign installation permit for the area of special control in order to place one flush-mounted, non-illuminated sign totaling 3.125 square feet at 20 East Main Street, located in a C2 heavy commercial zoning district.
Motion by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman White to have the proper ordinance drawn and approve this zoning board recommendation. Any other comments? All in favor of this motion to have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 2, September 13th, Victoria Beaver requesting a use variance in order to operate a records-only rescue and occasionally, on a temporary emergency basis, allow up to 2 rescue animals, as well as my 4 personal dogs, to be kept at 639 Royal Heights Road, located in a B1 multifamily zoning district.
Was there a recommendation from the committee?
Yes. The zoning board voted 4 to 2 to deny it.
So the zoning board's recommendation, Emily, was to deny 4 to 2. Okay. Do we hear a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think we need to at least discuss it a little bit. The lady took the time to show up this evening, Your Honor. Did the alderman from that board get any feedback from the citizens?
Indeed, we did. Well, not. There were no one there protesting it. No one that was there to actually go along with her either. I found that Mrs. Beaver's request was, it's a request for a variance. It's a change in the zoning. She operates a very clean facility, and she didn't just do this for starting in the last couple of months, because I've been going by our house for the last couple of years, and it's been the exact same. Myself and
Jim here don't have a problem with granting this variance.
She has 4 small dogs. Occasionally, she takes in rescue dogs. She's licensed by the state. The variance is, occasionally, she would take another dog. I believe, I'm not sure, I did talk to Ms. Beaver before. I went by and saw the place, it's all neat, just like Danny said. But I believe one of these dogs is actually a rescue dog of the 4. That she just decided to keep because it was over that. Anyway, she is in violation because she has 4 dogs.
Yes, sir, right.
But
These are only, the rescue dogs are only temporary, so.
they're all temporary.
And how many, what's the maximum you've ever had there of rescue dogs at one time?
There were 4. At
4
one
plus
time.
the 4?
Excuse me?
Plus the original 4 you have?
Plus my own, yes.
So you had up to 8 dogs.
Yes.
But if this variance went through, she would only be allowed to keep 2 dogs. She would have to say no. Sometimes you have to say no.
You'd only be allowed to keep 2 rescue dogs at any one given time.
She understands that.
And the other thing I would also recommend, just to be in compliance as others, we've had a few variances where people have had 4 dogs, but the understanding is, once something happened to one of the dogs, you cannot replace back to 4. It would have to be, you know, so there's been situations where people have inherited a family member's dog, somebody died, and we didn't make them. But I would say if the council was willing for something of that nature, some specific guidelines there, I think, you know, you might work that out. So it's up to you all.
But Your Honor, as an animal lover and dog lover, these are services we need. If the aldermen in that ward feel comfortable with it and have checked it out.
We both feel comfortable with it. In the same way, I feel with Joe, we need more people to take rescue dogs.
You guys want to make a motion to overturn that recommendation of the zoning board? I'm certainly going to talk with the
So the motion then, Alderman Anthony, might be that you'll approve her to have no more than 2 rescue dogs at a time?
Indeed.
And understanding that she currently has 4 personal dogs, but that if and when the situation ever occurs that one of those dogs is no longer with her, that she cannot go back to 4. She has to stay at the legal limit of 3.
She would come back into compliance with the ordinance.
Is that agreeable, Ms. Beaver?
So is that a motion?
I'll make a motion, and
You got that, Mr. Cliff?
Yeah, we
we got
got
a
it.
proper underscore.
Is that a second?
Second.
Motion by Alderman Anthony of the ward and second by Alderman Davis of both of her ward. Any further discussion? All in favor of this motion and have the proper ordinance drawn, which is not on tonight's agenda because we didn't, there's some changes here, et cetera. So all in favor and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next.
Number 3, case 47, September 13th, Belleville 200, requesting a sign installation permit for the area of special control in order to place 1 freestanding sign totaling 32 square feet at 227 East Main Street, located in C2 Heavy Commercial Zoning District.
Do I hear a motion to approve the sign variance? Motion by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
This is where their store is, where Main Street used to be.
Yeah, right.
I have a question about the fencing. I mean, I think we don't have any objections to it, but was that something they should have gotten permission for, or does that come under like outdoor furniture?
Staff, they reviewed it with us. We approved it. It was, you know, it's not divisive. It's not taking up any space. It was trying to gain attention and decorate it in a theme. And it was approved by staff and myself. So we have a motion and a second to approve the sign request for the 200th anniversary store, case number 47, and have the proper ordinance drawn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 4, September 13th, Sarah Fraser, requesting a sign installation permit for 1 area of special control in order to install 1 3 by 1.5 window graphic, 1 2 by 1.5 by 2.5 feet sandwich board sign, and 2 1 by 1 feet window graphic at 8 South Church Street, located in the C2 Heavy Commercial Zoning District.
Do I hear a motion?
What's your recommendation?
Recommendation, Emily, was to approve, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it was approved.
We have the proper ordinance drawn.
Motion by Alderman Stivers, second by Alderman White, and to have the proper ordinance drawn. Any other questions? All in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sarah, is that you back?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you for working with us and staying here. I know, if you remember, ladies and gentlemen, she had her yoga studio in the building that we bought from Mr. Conkright that we're talking about later in the meeting tonight as far as demolition. And she worked with the owner of the business over in South Church, and we got it fixed up nicely, and I think she's got a nice little place there.
I do, and I'd like to thank Emily. She was amazing help. And I'd like to thank the city and the Parks Department for giving us a bike rack. A lot of my students ride bikes, so we're very happy in our new home. So thank you, Bella.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. Next one, number
Item
five.
number 5, September 13th, Scott Grunberger requesting a use variance in order to utilize the rear structure as a single-family rental unit at 134 North Douglas, located in the A1 single-family zoning district.
I move that we concur with the zoning board and deny this request.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler.
Could you guys elaborate on that?
Okay, hold it just a second. Just a second. I'll recognize you. We have a motion by Alderman Kinsella, second by Alderman Heisler, to concur with the zoning board and deny this request at the address on North Douglas. Who now would like to speak? Alderman Holt.
I noticed this was another mixed vote out of the zoning board, and I was not able to attend the meeting, so I was hoping the alderman could elaborate, because I think between two objections.
My comment at the meeting was that we have had situations in that neighborhood where somebody has wanted to bypass the single-family regulations, and the constituents were very upset. The constituents want a single family, and I haven't had anybody tell me otherwise.
So there's no multiple family?
Okay, hold it, Mr. Jameson. She had her hand up. Alderman Schneider, go first.
I'd like to amend the motion to approve it. For one thing, I don't think that, were you, I just have to ask you, was the gentleman notified who his aldermen were? I don't think so, because on the zoning application where it said alderman, it didn't have anybody's names. And this is what's wrong.
But the aldermen were at the meeting, correct?
I was.
Okay.
No, for me, there was nothing on there. I wasn't notified.
Well, Alderman Schneider, I apologize, and we're trying to correct that, but you understand, your situation has been kind of unique this year, and sometimes staff is trying, they're trying hard, and you want to be notified on everything now since you serve in this capacity at large. But there's been a few times that they have forgotten in various departments, and they're trying hard. You're also you're well aware of this, that you have the ability to call and double check the agendas on any of this stuff, and we'll cooperate. So we have. Yes,
I still
ma'am.
have the floor. Right here's some business things that were issued, and it was Ward 7. My name ain't on it. It's again.
Does that pertain to this particular case?
But it pertains that you don't
Okay.
notify me of anything.
Have you ever called me and talked to me about this?
Did you get my last email? I know the attorney, because I did a signed receipt and read receipt email. Yes. If you're not getting my emails, they're going in your junk box. You can have the IT department come up and fix that. That would be your thing to take care of. You have them come up, put my name in, and it will not go to the junk email. You will get my emails that I send.
And we'll certainly work on that, but you know, sometimes a simple phone call would solve a lot of this. But anyway, we'll work on all that. Alderman Schneider made a motion to amend this. Is there anyone willing to second her motion? And what was your exact amendment on before we seconded it?
To approve it. To approve letting it be a rental.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to deny based on the zoning board's recommendation. And now we have a motion for an amendment to approve, and we have a second. So we'll vote on the amendment first. So if you vote, discussion.
Yeah, I was at the neighborhood watch meeting in May for this, and that was the only thing everybody could bring up. I was invited because my part of Ward 2 goes right up to us, and that was the only thing that people were coming and talking about. They were not really against that didn't want that.
Hold it ahead.
Yes, Your Honor, just so I understand this, maybe staff can answer this. By putting a structure, a single-family rental in the rear, is that Emily, by definition, by doing that, turning that resident into a duplex, is that correct?
You know, I have to go and reread the definition of what a duplex is, but when you have two dwellings on one lot, that's more than what's allowed by the
Right.
single family.
So it's no, that house would no longer be, neither one of them, it says here single family, but neither one of them would be single family. The structure itself would become multi-family, correct?
We're, Garrett, jump in, but in my opinion, we're talking about the parcel that's zoned single family, and when you put more than two structures on one parcel, that's where we're running into this issue. More than
Right.
two dwellings on one parcel.
Correct. Well, that's,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, that's, I mean, I empathize with the gentleman, but the people in my ward don't like this kind of stuff either.
And I'm not sure, Emily, can you help me? But I believe this was rezoned about 12 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know the exact year, but it was.
At a request of neighbors and petitions, et cetera.
Yeah, it was one of the neighborhood zones.
So,
No, I'm not allowed to speak.
I'm sorry?
Am I not allowed to speak?
Not usual. Is there
I
any?
just wonder about mother-in-law's quarters that people have on the property.
They would have been grandfathered in at the time that they did change the zoning. Is that correct, Emily?
It depends on, I think, how you define a mother-in-law's quarters.
It's not two separate families, it's the same family. Okay, so we have a motion to amend this and allow Mr. Cronenberger's request, and that's made by Alderman Schneider and Alderman Galetti. If you vote yes, you would be going against the zoning board's recommendation. So I'll call for the roll call vote. Yes, ma'am?
One more question. Emily, what is this structure? Was it a garage that's been turned into housing?
I defer the applicant.
Okay, you want to answer that, Mr. Cronenberger?
Ever since I was a little kid, it was,
Stand
I'm sorry. Ever since I was a little kid, it was an apartment. There was always someone living in it. I lived in that neighborhood my whole life, and there was always someone living there. It was never a garage. It's not set up as a garage. There's no garage door opener or big old garage on it, just a door that goes to the building. And I did work on it, thinking that I could use the mother-in-law's quarters are around it. Because it was always one in the past, I wasn't aware of the rules. But,
Alderman Randall?
Does this actually have two mailing addresses?
yes, sir. Separate utilities, it always has.
And had it been empty for some period of time, Emily? Do we know that?
We talked, it's been over a year.
I don't really know when the last time it was spread out.
Okay. We have a motion to, like, once again, just to make it clear, an aye vote reverses the original motion by Alderman Kinsella and Heisler, which was to concur with the zoning board and deny. An aye vote will grant it. Roll call.
Heisler.
No.
Kinsella.
No.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt.
No.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
No.
Davidson. Silsby.
No.
Hayden.
No.
Seibert.
No.
White.
Aye.
Galletti.
Aye.
Musgrove.
No.
Orland.
No.
Schneider.
Aye.
I know the noes have it.
11-5.
What's 11-5?
11-5.
Okay. We now need to have a vote, original vote, to deny the request. There's no further questions. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Ridgewitz. Randall.
No.
Anthony.
No.
Davidson.
Aye.
Silsby.
Aye.
Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland. Schneider.
Okay, let it be noted, Mr. Alderman Anthony, your vote is aye. A little confusing, we'll grant that, he spoke up right away. So it's still the same vote, right?
That's the same.
11-5, approving it, or denying it, which was the original request. Okay, thank you for your participation on that. We go on to the next one is, you got one more there, right? Two more? Next page?
Oh, I'm sorry. Number 6, September 13th, Papaditos requesting a special use permit for a liquor license at 4205 North Belt West, located in a C2 heavy commercial district.
And zoning board recommend approval of this, Emily. And would there be someone willing to make the motion to approve this?
Make a motion to comply with the zoning board.
And have the proper ordinance drawn.
And proper ordinance.
Motion by Alderman Anthony, second by Alderman Davison on the ward. Any discussion on this? All in favor and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye on case number 50.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oral reports. Alderman Heisler?
Yes, Your Honor. There is no objection. On behalf of the Master Sewer Committee, I would like to make one motion on items A and B and vote on both items collectively. So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Hayden for the two items for master sewer on your agenda on page 3 on items A and B. Any objection to that? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. Just for the folks in the audience who might not have a agenda in front of them, these were printed and they were two bills to be paid, one for Cordy Lujan for $619,388.50, and the other one was from Hare Plumbing, a pay request for $444,164.99. This is for our major sewer project that's ongoing down at the treatment plant and throughout the city. But it's this is still part of the first phase, Randy, the first $44 million?
Yes, phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay, so we're spending a lot of money making the EPA happy and being in compliance, and we're fixing things up for your future, gentlemen. All the Boy Scouts, you're going to have much better sewers and a much better up-to-date treatment plan as you get older. So I know you're happy to hear that. It is important, don't get me wrong. It's just hard to fathom sometimes. Moving on to Alderman Rudowitz.
Excuse me, point of order.
Yes.
I believe that we had voted, we did a roll call vote on whether they should be voted as one.
Oh,
We
I'm
never
sorry.
voted on A and B.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So you're right, and I apologize. Okay, so let's, go ahead and read them?
Yes.
Would help me? Go ahead. Mike?
Approval of the LTCP construction pay request number 39 from Cordy Lujan and Juvenile Wade Immersion for a total of $619,388.50. Motion on behalf of the Master Sewer Committee to approve the LTCP Phase 2 construction pay request number 5 from Air Plumbing in the amount of $44,164.99. So, $444,000, excuse me, $444,164.99. So moved, Your Honor.
Motion by Alderman Heisler, second by Alderman Hayden. Discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Alderman Rudowitz.
I have 4 motions from the housing department. I could read them one at a time, or do we?
What's your pleasure?
1 through 3 is fine with me.
Read the first 1 through 3, Mr. Rudowitz.
Copy. Motion to approve scrapping of 2 housing vehicles. Number 2, motion to approve the sale of the city-owned property at 515 South 17th. And motion to approve the demolition bid for 18 South High Street to Hanks Excavating in the amount of $28,000.
Have a motion by Alderman Rudowitz. Do I hear a second? Second by Alderman Seibert. Do I hear discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Is, number item 2, is that for listing the property with the real estate agent?
There should have been a sheet in the packet. I didn't. It's to list it and to, we had the appraisal, explains the whole procedure. how we have to follow it, and, because that one didn't sell in the advertising as a bid.
The other one was already sold, this is the second.
This is the second one, the one sold. So we have a motion, yes ma'am? Yes.
I have a question about the vehicle. I can see that they're 10 to 12 years old, but the mileage seems fairly low.
I think
Can they not be sold? Do they have to be scratched?
Your Honor, I'd like to address that. These are housing vehicles that were police vehicles before. So if you observe that the police seldom turn off their vehicles because they have to keep all the equipment running, these vehicles may have 130,000 miles on them, but the engines have a whole lot more wear and tear because they hardly been
We
turned off.
cannibalized a lot of them
That's the
too,
difference
Alderman.
between a police vehicle and another vehicle.
Alderman Holt, as you know, we, to keep some of the old fleet together, they've had to take a lot of parts off and one off another. These are ready to be, I asked the same question.
Okay.
It's a good question. If we could have sold it to make a little bit more off it, we would have done so or traded them. But these have been pretty much, we've taken parts to keep other ones going in there.
Well, and I understand that both the police and housing use it for stopping.
Oh, yeah. Exactly, no, and we're, as you know, from the budget the last 2 years, we're going more to four-cylinder vehicles, better gas mileage, et cetera, for housing. We're trying to get away from these the old police packages, because they're very gas, not friendly. So, we have a motion and a second to approve these three first requests from the housing. Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Aye.
Those three motions pass. I'd ask for a motion for number 4. Alderman Rudowitz.
Motion to approve extending the grass cutting contract with Grassroots for 1 year, April 4th, 2014 through December 2014, with no increase in pricing.
We have a motion. Do we hear a second? Second by Alderman Schmidt. Let me just explain. It's not even a full year, right? It's
8 months.
8 months. Okay. Alderman Hayden.
Yes, this will be a repeat, Your Honor, for those who were at Health and Housing, but I'd like to explain my vote. I made a pledge, Your Honor, to the voters that I would not support no bid contracts. This is a no bid contract. It was discussed also that this contract was actually extended 2 years ago, so this is the second extension of this contract, ladies and gentlemen, of a no bid contract. It hasn't been bid since probably 2010. As I told the gentleman that night, I have nothing against them. I think they do a great job. It's just as you go through it, and our people that run our economic development, you look through the yellow pages, there are quite a few grass cutting businesses, lawn service businesses out there that are struggling, and in today's tough economy, they would like to change to make money, and the only way we can prove to the citizens that we're getting the ultimate best deal is to bid.
Okay, and if I may, just to explain, Bob Sable couldn't be here this evening, but he asked me to please explain this. Bob came to me with this request, and I asked him to take it to the committee. His request is for this reason. First of all, we had talked before about getting this bid to come due in the late fall. That way we would have the new bid while we're doing the budget. Otherwise, it comes due the end of April. We approve it in May. We've already got the budget approved. If the bid comes in higher, we're right away already adjusting the budget. So that's the first thing. He wanted to get it in line with better budgeting. 2, he's asked this year that we adjust this and do it now, because if for some reason another firm does get the bid, his concern is, and I'm passing this on from the director, that with all the additional duties they're taking on right now to try to implement crime-free housing, that if it is a different person, hypothetically, there is so much to go out and show locations of all these different city lots and how they get cut, that it's going to be a massive job. He said he would rather have the winter months to go show them. If we have a new bid person, that they could take the time to show them some of the boundaries and some of the situations, because a lot of these are our properties they cut all the time. for ongoing, different right-of-ways and things. They help us out because our workers, we don't have enough of them to do this all the time. So that was his request, and we understand the bidding thing. It's for an 8-month extension at no increased cost, so we're not doing that. And that's what's before you. So, yes, Alderman Kinsella.
I'd also like to mention that this was bid at one time, so it's not a no-bid contract. It was bid, we're extending it, we're considering extending it, but it was bid at one time, and it was the lowest bid at that time. And it has been reduced since then.
Right, and I will just agree. Alderman Sable said he certainly has no problem with bidding it. He would just like to get it to come due in the fall. It'll be much easier on him, his department, and I think it'll be better in the budgeting process if we have some real figures in December to approve the contract, whoever it is, and put that, plug it into the budget without having to make amendments right away. So that's the rationalization.
Okay, I'm not quite understanding that. If the contract doesn't start till April, why can't we get it out between now and then?
Yeah, I guess you could, but traditionally we haven't just,
The current contract, Your Honor, goes.
the current contract goes through April
This
6th.
is an extension of the current contract that was approved 2 years ago that ends this coming April, and this will be an extension.
And normally they go out for bid in the spring, is what we've done, what they've done in the past.
Okay, and can you clarify why we have two of these? One of them has an N and one of them has a C on it?
Current, new.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's real simple. If you're either vote for the extension based on the explanation you received, or you vote against it because you have the conviction for that. So if there's no, yes, sir.
So at the end of in December 31st, 2014, this contract would be put out to bid?
It would be probably put out for bid before that, Alderman Davidson, but that his contract would expire then. Okay?
We just need a second first.
No, I thought we had a second. We had a motion by Alderman Schmidt, second, right?
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. And do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote on approving this extension.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt.
Aye.
Rudowitz.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
Anthony.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Sillsbury. Hayden.
No.
Seibert.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Galletti. Musgrove.
Aye.
Orland.
Aye.
Schneider.
No.
Ayes have it. So we'll have an extension till that time. We'll see the bids go out sometime next fall. Motion to authorize the mayor to do, or his designee to execute electric supply contract with supplier recommended by Energy Plus Associations, Inc. as a result of their RFP that best meets the electric needs of the city if the price is less than approximately 0.046 per kilowatt hour. We've had, Jamie, you want to explain any of this at all, or?
I'm gonna probably let
Fred, okay. Fred?
Ladies and gentlemen, you have a summary in front of you. You probably have seen this chart before. And just to do a little bit of a recap, very briefly, August the 19th, the City Council approved an agreement to have Energy Plus Associates obtain fixed pricing from the suppliers for the city accounts. The wastewater treatment plant has been doing this for several years. The smaller accounts have been on a month-to-month index price that has worked well, but it's now time to move to a fixed price since the market is bound to move up. Now, what you'll see on your chart that I didn't really know real well is back here around February 2011, you'll see a small pin mark. That was whenever we got pricing for the wastewater treatment plant back in 2011. We got lucky, just before the market price started going up. And again, this is not the actual fixed price. This is an indicative price. This is what I use as my thumb rule on what's the market doing. Currently, we're down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I can't say that it's going to get any lower, but I wouldn't guess it would. So anyway, we went ahead and, oh, by the way, the current price at the wastewater treatment plant is 5.3 cents a kilowatt hour. August 16th, 3 days before the council meeting where you authorized me to go out and get pricing, I did an indicative price. I went ahead and said, okay, supplier A, give me an idea of where the market is for these accounts, specifically for the wastewater treatment plant and all the other city accounts. That price came in at about $4.25 for the wastewater treatment plant, a little bit higher for the 280 smaller facilities such as this. That blended rate came out at about 4.35 cents. The motion that you have is for, I think, 4.6 cents. That's a guaranteed $30,000 a year less than what you're currently paying for the wastewater treatment plant. I expect it to come in well below the $40,000 because we went ahead and got pricing this past Friday. That expires at 5 o'clock. Anytime you get pricing, unless you're going to pay a really heavy premium, it expires at 5 p.m. that day. So what I do is I get the pricing, I rank them, I review the contracts, I get it set up so that I can then go ahead and do a refresh of the price, rank it, provide a recommendation to the mayor or his designee so that a contract can be expired while that pricing is good.
So with the approval of this motion, we have the potential, with Fred's watchful eye that we've hired him for, is got the potential of saving a pretty considerable amount of money when he tells Jamie and calls the two of us and says, I believe this is the right time, the right day to lock it in, and you give me the authorization to so do. I think he's explained right there that wastewater treatment plant alone can be a pretty big savings. So it could save us quite a bit of money, but it's one of those deals, he doesn't have the luxury to say, I can hold it until the next meeting. We have to lock it in immediately.
By 5 o'clock that day.
By 5 o'clock that day. So that's what we're asking for, is your authorization to grant me the authority to sign, work with Fred and with our finance director to look at this and to make that decision, all of which we're hoping to come back to you and say we made a decision that's going to save the city this much money.
Approve 11D, Your Honor.
We have a motion, and we have a second to approve 11 number D on the agenda on page 3. Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us are you thinking it'll be done this week, this month?
Fred, do you have a timeline to do anything?
It should be done within the next week. One of the things that's going to take me a couple of days that I didn't count on is the apparent low price right now has a 20% bandwidth on their contract. And with the $1 million expansion going on at the wastewater treatment plant, I need to look and evaluate whether or not that price that they're submitting is going to be offset or is going to have exposure for usage outside of that 20% bandwidth. But it'll be this week.
We have a motion and we have a second, correct?
Yes.
If there's no other questions, roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orlett. Schneider.
Motion carries. I want to thank Jamie and Fred for working together and hopefully save us some more money. That's always good. Next page, item 4, we got communications. A motion to approve request for Belleville. I should have you read this one. This is the wood carvers. The wood carvers to have a banner displayed over North Illinois Street. So we have a motion by Alderman Silsby. Do I hear a second? Who's the second? Second by Alderman Hayden. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor of approving the banner request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Petitions, we have none. Resolutions, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only, Resolution 3148 and 3149. Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Schmidt. Any discussion on that by reading by title only? Is it okay to read those two together? Hearing no objections, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution number 3148, a resolution requesting permission from IDOT to close Route 159 at the Public Square for the Santa Claus Parade on November 29, 2013 from 9:30 a.m. until noon. B, a resolution number 3149, a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property within the city of Belleville, Illinois.
Motion to approve resolution 3148 and 3149.
Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman White for those two resolutions as just read. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion's carried. This time I ask for a motion to read by title only ordinances 77, 77-16, 77-17, 77-18, and 77-19 and 77-20. Motion by Alderman Silsby, second by Alderman Seibert to read by title only. Is there anybody have any heartburn? Almost all of these are zoning ordinances with the one from traffic. Is it okay also to read them as a group? No objections? All in favor of that motion as a group and by title only signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ordinance number 7716, case number 44, September 13, Oates Associates Incorporated. Ordinance number 7717, case number 47, September 13, Belleville 200. Ordinance number 7718, case 48, September 13, Sarah Fraser. Ordinance number 7719, case number 50, September 13, Papa Vito's. Ordinance number 7720, ordinance amending chapter 52, traffic of the revised ordinances of the city of Belleville, Illinois, as amended by amending portions of section thereof.
Motion to approve ordinance 7116, 7717, 7718, 7719, and 7720. So moved.
Motion by Alderman Silsby. The first one was 7716. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinances as just read. Any further discussion, questions? Roll call.
Heisler.
Aye.
Kinsella.
Aye.
Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Silsby. Hayden. Cybert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. I don't know, is there any unfinished business anybody has in their mind?
I have a question. I believe the council asked Jim Schneider to look into drug testing. We had any kind of preliminary report.
Is Jim still here?
Pricing area.
Yeah, and I think the big question that we're waiting on is, Peggy was doing some work on, some of the unions have specific, we're trying to gather that as to what some of the contracts are that say, and report back. Garrett and I have talked, and I think you basically said elected officials can't be mandated, voluntary. Has to be voluntary. So we're trying to compile all, I gotta get back with Peggy and we'll put this on a report form, but she was still trying to get together from all the union, he has to read all 9 union contracts and look at what, and we've been sidetracked for different reasons, a couple things, but we'll get her to finish that up. She was looking at it, so to get an explanation of what each union is currently doing. But as far as the council, it would be up to, we can put together a voluntary program, but that's what we can do.
We were just intending to try to do it all together, similar to what the county did with all employees and all elected officials at the same time. So I can work with Mr. Schneider and his staff to put that together.
So, Mayor, we will put a process in place for the council.
Subject to the council approval.
And then I think, Jim, my intention would be that it would also be subject to those employees who are not union employees.
There would be 2 separate policies, but one, the elected official, but doesn't have to be a volunteer.
Yes, it appears that way.
It appears that way. I would confirm that when we get the whole.
Yeah, we'll get a recommendation put up. There's quite a few moving parts here. Alderman Schmidt?
I have a question. If there's drug testing, who gets the results?
Part of it, we have to make it on the side.
Human resources would get.
Human resources would get the results.
Employee, of course, but.
It's a personnel thing. It goes to the human resources, just like it.
Would it be subject to the Freedom of Information Act or is it confidential?
No, it's a personnel record. And these are all things that we would have to work out with the unions that are affected. It's a topic of marketing.
Alderman Hayden.
So with these unions, Mr. Arner, are we going to basically have to would we be opening up these contracts?
We're going to review, Mr. Hayden, what we already have currently.
Some contracts already contain language related to that. Usually it's safety-related decisions.
And I wouldn't recommend open up any contract for any item until the contracts are due.
Right.
I think it behooves us to look at it. But we're going to get a list of that when they're all. There's, like I said, there's a lot of different questions here. We started on it. We had a meeting in my office when Jim was gone one day, and Peggy and I talked a little bit. And then like everything else, it's pretty massive amount of stuff she needs to collect. But we'll try to get them compiled and get put together. Okay? Yes, sir.
There was a question a while back, that was brought up in the council concerning personnel issues between the treasurer's office and the clerks. Did we settle that?
I think that's going back to ordinance this meeting, right, Jim? Jim Musgrove, isn't that topic's going back as requested here to send it back? And Jim, I think it's fair to say that pretty much resolved?
I think so.
Okay, so it's going to go back to ordinance the next Tuesday night. So you should see it here, tomorrow night, I'm sorry. And then you should see it here, if everything moves forward, the second meeting of this month. Alderman Gleddy?
I want to ask the city attorney, what would the consequence be if there is currently codified for an elected official having a positive consequence? What I want to know if there is currently anything in Illinois law which establishes some sort of circumstance for an elected official testing positive for.
I would prefer not to speculate on that. I think that's something we can take up with the planning, but I understand your question. That's something that's going to have to be taken into account as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mayor, I would like to know if the review board or the setup under the concrete housing has already been formed.
I will have a recommendation at the next meeting. I've been getting some input from people and from some of the current task force members. Bob Sable and I have met, and the police chief a couple times, and I think we're getting a pretty good rough draft of a good rounded committee. I'm trying to have it as as well balanced as possible. So I believe it's my intention for the next council meeting to have a proposal with a little thing about each of them and what positions they would be qualifying under that program. Because remember there's supposed to be a couple landlords, a couple property owners, a couple aldermen, a couple, there's and a couple of one or two of you have expressed interest to me. As aldermen, there's been some landlords, there's been some property owners I've talked to. So it's coming. I think by the next meeting we'll have it ready to present.
My concern is, I would surely like to see at least one African American on that.
There'll be more than one if everything goes well. There'll be certainly more than one. And definitely. And we're looking at everything from various ages to different parts of town. Because I think when I look at this, I'm trying to be as diverse or as fair. So it's taking a little bit of time, but we're getting there. But there'll certainly be representation, I think, is in a good way. Gender as well, absolutely. Yes.
Alderman Stivern, I'd like to know, when do we turn the air conditioner on and the heater on?
That's part of that energy plan Mr. Shriver has left. All I know is every year in October, they deal with air conditioning and heat pumps, and one day it's so hot in here you can sweat out and leave your office. The next day they're freezing. So it's not I'll tell you what, we'll ask that question tomorrow at staff meeting. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know who that traffic committee is, but.
Joe Arlen.
Okay, can you give us a little explanation about the article in the paper and parking and
No, Joe probably can, because this was something that Chief Clay and I had some business owners come to us. We also had a request from downtown merchants on Main Street to talk about listening and have listened to some of their concerns. There was about 20 people came here one day last week. Chief Clay and I and Officer Stafford attended the meeting and fielded questions. It was, no decisions were made of any kind, but there was input, there was dialogue, because the business owners downtown, they deal with the parking lots, the meters, some of them are in the monthly passes, and so it was an informal meeting that I think a lot of progress was made, but it was at their request to sit down and talk with the police chief and I about parking, listening to them. And, you know, it hasn't even, once I think something is formulated, that if there's any changes, then it'll go to traffic. You know, it'll go, but at this point, this was just a dialogue between, actually Main Street kind of set it up, but it was business merchants. Okay? Okay, now we're, all those questions taken care of. I guess that also was under miscellaneous and new. I think we ran from old to new. At this time, I ask for a motion for motor fuel claims in the amount of $60,000, 177.43 cents. Motion by Alderman Seibert, second by Alderman Schmidt. Do I hear discussion on the motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Heisler. Kinsella. Holt. Schmidt. Rudowitz. Randall. Anthony. Davidson. Sillsby. Hayden. Seibert. White. Galletti. Musgrove. Orland. Schneider.
Motion carries. Ask for motion to adjourn. Motion, second. Schmidt, Galletti. All in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ladies, I'd like to talk to you for the Republican Democrat for about 2 minutes. And she asked you some questions that you don't know how to answer. Just don't tell you don't know. Okay? You're too young to make a big opinion on this. Okay? That's what you made out of this meeting.